like, comment, subscribe, and before we go any further, I just wanted to say like I'm using a new mic, so you guys tell me how it sounds. Hopefully it sounds good, but I just wanted to buy a mic that would like sound better than what I'm using already. So I got this cheap mic. Hopefully it does sound good, but on that note, it's time for the Adeptus Mechanicus.
He needed those that could build him a fleet truly meant for the reconquering of the galaxy. And so he turned his attention to the red planet of Mars.
The Adeptus Mechanicus.
Mars and Terra were close allies long before the Unification Wars. Mars was the first world terraformed by humanity.
Oh, they live on Mars.
Be the first hive world, an epicenter for industry and technology.
I never knew that.
Strife did not treat the red planet kindly, however. Mars was cut off from Terra during this time, and the warp storms that ravaged the planet turned it into an absolute nuclear hellscape. Those who were on the surface were turned into your run-of-the-mill mutant if they even survived the bombings they inflicted themselves, but others were lucky enough to escape beneath the red sands in powerful fallout shelters. These
what
became
the
their
hell?
generational habitats, but this...
So, is this why the Adeptus Mechanicus believe in like tech and that the human body is fragile? Because that would make a lot of sense. I'm thinking that's why they are the way they are. But anyway, that makes them cool. Even if that's the reason why, I still think that they are so cool and by far my favorite faction within Warhammer.
Resulted in extreme reliance on technology and those who could use it. They began to view the technology keeping them alive less as a technological advancement and more of a divine intervention, with those skilled in it as priests. The Martians began to worship the power of the machine.
Bro, I'm sorry for pausing a lot, but this makes a lot of sense as to why they believe in the machine. It damn near saved us from extinction. We were dying and technology made us like evolve past the human flesh into what we are now. So you know what? Hell yeah. All hail the Omnissiah. Bro, this makes a lot of sense.
And this resulted in the formation of the Cult Mechanicus, the belief in a holy trinity known as the Three-in-One. The machine god, serving as the spirit who gave rise to all technologies known, the motive force, the deity that gives all life its ability to live, and the Omnissiah, a physical manifestation of the machine god itself.
The Omnissiah
began to manifest in them physically.
Bro, this is so cool.
Humans began to really mess around with the character creator options, and this tech obsession made them view instances of flesh to be weak and spend their lives removing what makes them human and replacing it with mechanical augments. Robotic limbs, glowing eyes, mechadendrite arms. What was once a mass of flesh now looks like the back of a router, and the oldest members of the Mechanicus no longer even look slightly human. In addition to this, cloaked over all of their mechanical appendages are robes that reflect the color of their homeworld, the red robes of the Mechanicus. The Cult Mechanicum, now the Adeptus Mechanicus, create a fascinating combination of cultures all birthed into one. Basically, techno-zealot monks. Organic life is the machine god's greatest accomplishment within the scope of the great work. All praise he who is three-in-one. By giving us life within an organic shell, he presents us with the means and opportunity to improve upon physicality, as is his divine plan. He grants us complex weakness so we might learn metallic strength and ascend to his level of machinic perfection.
Bro.
The Emperor's arrival to Mars was very much a walking in with the pizzas while the room is on fire moment, but to the Mechanicum, they saw his arrival as confirmation of their belief. They took one look at the glowing golden entity that showed up on their doorstep and were like, that's him. That's the guy right there, and they immediately accepted him as the Omnissiah. Obviously, showing up and being called Machine Jesus shortly after wiping out all instances of non-Machine Jesus a little bit before.
Not Machine Jesus.
Instance of capital H heresy, but the Emperor saw the bigger picture. Were they strange with how they rubbed unguents on themselves, burned incense, and prayed to machines for them to
Wait.
work? Sure, but
Did they see the Emperor as the Omnissiah or what? Maybe I just don't understand, but I think that's what he said. I'm running it back. I'm sorry.
as is his divine plan. He grants us complex weakness.
I love the
we might learn
Mechanicus, bro.
metallic strength and ascend to his level of machinic perfection. The Emperor's arrival to Mars was very much a walking in with the pizzas while the room is on fire moment, but to the Mechanicum, they saw his arrival as confirmation of their belief. They took one look at the glowing golden entity that showed up on their doorstep and were like, that's him. That's the guy right there, and they immediately accepted him as the Omnissiah.
Oh.
Obviously, showing up and being called Machine Jesus shortly after wiping out all instances of non-Machine Jesus a little bit beforehand is an instance of capital H heresy, but the Emperor saw the bigger picture. Were they strange with how they rubbed unguents on themselves, burned incense, and prayed to machines for them to work? Sure, but that's a lot of production right there. So the Emperor devised the Treaty of Olympus Mons, a unifying agreement between Terra and Mars, and this union would be permanently etched into the Aquila of the Imperium as the two-headed eagle. One head for Terra, the other for Mars. The forces of the Emperor would be supplied with all the technology and weapons they needed to reunite the scattered remnants of humanity under one banner, and the Mechanicum of Mars would be able to keep doing what they were doing religiously and scientifically so long as they kept up their tithes. This tithe meant total quality control over all technology in the Imperium. Is it a big space?
Bro, that just it worked out perfectly. Bro walked in, and then they saw him as the Omnissiah. Now it's a religion that they have, so they have to pop out tithes in the form of weaponry. So everything just works out for everyone then. They're giving the tithe to the Omnissiah. Those guys get their weapons, even though it's a heresy, but it works for everyone. So this makes a lot of sense.
Chip, AdMech take care of that. Tanks, AdMech take care of that. The literal bullets in a gun, you guessed it, but unlike the factories of today, the forge worlds of Mars and the creations of the Mechanicum are a bit of a different experience altogether. Instead of a factory on a random given world, the entirety of the planet's surface is dedicated to manufacturing. But that's
the entire planet,
considering that the usage of silica animus, or AI, is a big no-no, and basically the largest affront to their divine machine god possible. Fortunately, there's a really neat alternative that they've come up with, and that's called a servitor. Incredible devices that can do anything from manufacturing, maintenance, basic door operation, even just float around like a helpful little drone. It's an extremely easy process too. All you need to do is take a human who is dying or preferably an enemy of the state, most likely that one, and lobotomize them. And then reprogram their brains to do exactly what they tell you. They even got little baby versions of them. Yay! So now you can rest easy knowing that the entirety of the Imperium, because they outlaw AI and learning new tech is heresy, is run on lobotomized slaves. Whether they deserve it or not is unimportant, and whether they can still keep their consciousness trapped in their own minds is another thing entirely.
This is the game. Are they lobotomizing someone?
Your incompetence is showing.
An excerpt from the Servitor Creation Factories. Naked human beings were standing in a switch-packed line between high fences. The manufactorum produced servitors, but it was more akin to an abattoir than a workshop. Every surface was easily cleanable. Servitors with spray units surgically attached to their backs prowled about, hosing filth from slit drains set into the perfectly smooth,
This is
slanted floors.
insane.
As the line slowly advanced, the people were passed through various scanning devices, most of them mounted in ugly, functional arches that let out a constant series of acceptance chimes. Occasionally, one would let out an angry blare, and the indicator lumens would flash red. The rejected person was then swallowed up by a trapdoor opening beneath their feet. From these pits wafted a hideous stench and the grinding sounds of industrial mincers. One rejected man grabbed onto the lip and hung there, arms and hands bloodied, shouting a stream of defiant profanities. Guards lined the grating either side of him and shocked him until he fell. The adepts wouldn't even waste bullets on these people. The trapdoor flipped up, and the next terrified person was ushered forward. Violent metal arms snatched them up and spread-eagled them in the air, and a servitor shearer shaved.
Brother, I'd imagine being on Mars if you're not part of the faction or if you're not part of the whole organization. It would be hell. If you're there, you just know what's about to go down. They're about to do all kinds of experiments on you. All types of weaponry is about to be tried on you. So it's gotta be hell.
Them all over. At another, they were subjected to a high-pressure counterseptic wash whose chemical stink made me choke from 100 feet away.
You
More
see what I
scanners,
mean?
More rejects winnowed out. Machines forcibly dressed them in a heavy rubberized garment common to all monotask servitors. These were saggy on them, all one size, until another process shrank them to fit their bodies where metal cuffs, sockets, and collars bit into vulnerable flesh. The last few
Damn.
prayers gave way to screams at that point, and even the most stoic shouted in pain. They were ushered over a floor buzzing with power that made them shriek with every footstep. "What's that for?" I asked. "Follicular inhibitor, to stop their hair from growing," he said.
What?
Freaking sweet, Lois! As for their scientific
Why?
pursuit, the Mechanicum believe in the preservation of knowledge above all and the quest to expand it. However, as opposed to just innovating and inventing on their own with their vast technological know-how, they believe that it is a form of tech heresy. You see, because of their religious viewpoints on technology itself, they believe that the instruction booklet itself is just as holy as the Lego set it built. And to innovate on that without the proper written knowledge is to go against the divine word of the machine god itself. All knowledge is already in the universe. You simply need to rediscovering it and attempting to invent something to improve upon divinity is very heretical. Prior to the Age of Strife, humanity was able to populate the stars with devices known as Standard Template Constructs, or STCs. These devices were, as far as we know, supercomputers with the ability to pull up and detail how to create literally anything a startup colony would need. Essentially, they were devices with the entirety of human technological know-how so that you could make a home away from home. The Mechanicum will not make anything without an STC. Quite literally nothing, because this is the knowledge they seek, and that knowledge is divine. One time, scouts of the Imperial Guard found a functioning STC that provided the schematics on a knife that happened to be a bit lighter and a bit sharper than most other knives. These knives were adopted by 30 Space Marine chapters and were one of the most advanced discoveries of the century. This discovery was so significant that they were each awarded a planet for finding this.
A planet?
Planet for a machine that taught them how to make knives. Due to their religious organization, you can probably guess the Mechanicum are organized in a feudal structure with the highest
Bro, a whole planet for a knife. What? What is going on? You're awarded a whole planet just for the schematics for a knife. These guys wouldn't even build a table from IKEA if it didn't come with the schematics, bro. That's how down they are for the machine god. They, this is insane, bro.
Individuals in power being a part of the priesthood. Cream of the crop being the fabricator general of Mars itself, who serves as a high lord of Terra, but also oversees the entirety of the Mechanicum below. Below them are tech priests that oversee the cult for the quest of knowledge and other more straightforward theocracy. Forge worlds tend to operate slightly more independently, what can cause some power struggles within the Mechanicum, because, you know, despite them all being weird robots, they love being given praise. And despite being the manufacturing end of the Imperium, they do actually have their own military forces. They have the Skitarii Private Army and all their various 1920s Martian-style mechanisms like Doom Crawlers, Castellan robots, and of course...
Bro, I don't know why I didn't think they'd actually be going to war, but it does make sense that they have their own, like, military and all that. Like, I'm not just going to produce weapons and not have a military. Come on, bro. And are there, like, armies the most technologically advanced in the verse? Or is it the tech that the Eldars have? Somebody put that in the comments. I really like to know.
The Titan Legions, because nothing is cooler than a robot that towers over buildings. Ultimately, their very dogmatic view on technology as a whole has resulted in any innovation becoming absent, thus causing the Imperium to stagnate as a whole. The lack of ambition to create anything new and the wholesale murder of anyone who even tries leads to things becoming derelict. I grow weary of this flesh I was born into, strangely disgusted by its nature.
No schematics, nothing new is being made.
Steel and silicon, that I might become one with the blessed machine. I do not expect you to understand, you who cling to your flesh as if it were immortal, seeking only to preserve it, to protect it. One day you will see the folly of your ways, and then no doubt you will come begging to my order to preserve you. After the groundwork had been set unification-wise, it was time to start getting things together for the Emperor's great crusade across the stars to bring humanity under one banner. The Thunder Warriors were a perfect fighting force for unifying Terra and Luna, but the galaxy was a whole different thing. You see, these warriors weren't soldiers in the eyes of the Emperor. They were tools, extremely blunt tools used for the fast conquest of Terra. As the Emperor was concerned, the tools you use at home aren't the same ones you take on a road trip. So the Emperor rid himself of his tools in the exact manner you think he did, and he went forward to crafting a brand new tool. One more mobile, more efficient, and ready for his next era of conquest. They shall be my finest warriors, these men who give of themselves to me.
I'm sorry for pausing, but this kind of reminds me. I'll put the picture on the screen, but for years, and I mean years, I had a blanket. I have a blanket. It's still there, and I'm using it right now, like I always use it during the winter season. Guess what? It was a Space Marine, and all these years I've been wondering, who the hell is this? Whole time, it's Warhammer. How insane is that? And I've just realized, just before, like, coming to record this video, I looked at it, and then that's when it hit me. Oh, damn, this is a Space Marine. I'll put the picture on the screen. For years, I didn't know. That's what's insane about it.
Like clay, I shall mold them, and in the furnace of war forge them. They will be of iron will and steely muscle. In great armor shall I clad them, and with the mightiest guns will they be armed. They will be untouched by plague or disease. No sickness will blight them. They will have tactics, strategies, and machines so that no foe can best them in battle. They will be my bulwark against the terror. They are the defenders of humanity. They are my soul.
The Space Marines.
And they shall know no fear. The vastness of the Milky Way galaxy meant that the Emperor needed
Oh, I thought
assistance
it was
bringing
the
everyone
end of
back
that
to the fold.
section.
And who better to do this than himself? But since the technology to be in many places at once does not exist anymore, the Emperor decided that it was time to become a dad, the same way Geppetto did, and with far less care. It is not my son, Archon. None of them are. They are warlords, generals, tools bred to serve a purpose, just as legions were bred to serve a purpose. What a dad. The Primarch Project was started to create charismatic and unique leaders in the Imperial military. The diversity of these eventual leaders meant that each one could be specialized for certain circumstances across the galaxy.
Look at
Depending on the
Horus.
type of conflict, one leader might be better than the other. So instead of forcing one leader to acclimate to a situation directly, it would be better to send a specialized leader and force to handle it. In order to do this, the Emperor used his genetic know-how and maybe a little bit of that forbidden stuff to create these genetically perfect gene fathers that had the ability to serve as his analog directly, and also serve as the leaders of the respective Space Marine legions. All 18, that's right, all 19 of his sons were meant to be directly molded by the Emperor himself, despite their genetic differences. And they go as follows in order: Lionel Johnson, Fulgrim, Percherabo, Jagatai Khan, Lehman Russ, Rogel Dorn,
Lehman
Conrad
Russ.
Kurz, Sanguinius, Ferris Manus, Angron, Robute Gilliman, Mortarion, Magnus the Red, Horus Lupercal, Lorgar Aurelian, Vulcan, Corvus Corax, and Alfarius and Omegon. His sons, finalized and crafted to be the warriors he needed them to be, were complete. But he may have decided to do a bit of dabbling with things he shouldn't have, and paid a price. Before the Primarchs were ready to go, an intervention by the gods of chaos prevented his...
I just want to know, would Bricky saying that be heresy? Like saying the Emperor made a mistake, like, and he shouldn't have been dabbling in things that he didn't understand? I think that's heresy. Arrest that man.
plan from being completed as intended. Though the sources vary, the ultimate result of the Chaos God intervention was that all of the Emperor's tools were scattered throughout the galaxy at unknown places and times. Each one of his sons ended up in a completely different world, and instead of being able to directly influence their upbringing, these children were instead forced to experience the unique nature of their respective homeworlds. Some had a great time and lived in general luxury. Others, not so much. Despite his closest advisor, Malkador the Sigillite, saying, "All right, Chief, let's try this one again," the Emperor sensed each of his sons were still very much alive. And one of the primary objectives of the Great Crusade shifted to reclaiming each of his sons so they could take command of their specific Space Marine legions and carry out his will. These original Space Marine legions that were created alongside their Primarchs go in order: the Dark Angels, Emperor's Children, Iron Warriors, White Scars, Space Wolves, Imperial Fists, Night Lords, Blood Angels, Iron Hands, World Eaters, Ultramarines, Death Guard,
World Eaters.
Thousand Sons, Luna Wolves of...
Did he say World Eaters? If he did say that, then that's by far the coolest name of the legions, by the way.
Eventually Sons of Horus, the Word Bearers, Salamanders, Raven Guard, and the Alpha Legion.
The
Space
Raven
Marines,
Guard.
unlike their gene fathers, the Primarchs are not made in a vat. There is a process to recruit more members from humanity itself, which seems a bit strange considering how massive a Space Marine is compared to a normal man, but don't forget, the Emperor is really good with genetics. Less good with anesthetic, however. These prospects are recruited across humanity from various reasons and methods, and are generally killed during that process. But sometimes they aren't, and they are able to go through more and more of the actual training to assess certain traits that are important and relevant to being a Space Marine. Most of the time, the common factor is a pure, unrelenting willingness to kill the enemies of the Imperium. After going through psychological screening, the prospect, now called a neophyte, goes under the knife to become a Space Marine. And here is a quick list of all the cool new stuff they get genuinely shoved into their bodies. A secondary heart, an organ that makes your bones grow,
secondary
an organ
heart
that makes your muscles big, an implant that makes your blood stronger, a little organ that turns your white blood cells into super white blood cells, a brain implant that allows you to sleep while being awake, a pre-stomach that allows you to digest literally anything, a spinal implant that allows you to absorb the genetic memories of what you eat, bigger and better lungs that can let you breathe underwater, an implant that gives you stronger eyes, new ears that keep you from being dizzy, a brain implant that lets you go into suspended animation if you're in a bad shape, skin that acts like transition glasses, I almost got it in one take, a brand new kidney, the ability to taste the air and find enemies like a bloodhound, a special coating on your skin that allows you to be protected in space, the ability to spit acid, a gland that allows you to absorb the unique genetic makeup from the gene.
This is insane. Why would I need acid spit? I guess if I'm pinned down and then I can spit that acid at the enemy, but who even thinks of these things? This is crazy. This is borderline insane.
Seed in the first place, and a straight up carapace that allows the Space Marine to interface with their power armor directly. Quite often, these are put inside of you at dubious levels of mental alertness and dubious levels of anesthetic. After a more generalized indoctrination into the faith of the Imperium and a bit more training and other important manners, they can finally be welcomed as a fully fledged Space Marine. A Space Marine is quite literally a walking tank that is armed to the teeth. Two of the more iconic weapons held by a Space Marine are their bolt gun, which fires explosive shells the size of soda cans, and a chain sword, which is
a chainsword.
The Space Marine is clad in a colorful carapace known as power armor, crafted from extremely heavy and durable ceramite. The power armor of a Space Marine protects him from any terrors he may face, be it the void of space itself to an inhospitable atmosphere.
So these weapons that they use, are they made by the Adeptus Mechanicus and then installed in them by the Adeptus Mechanicus? Put that in the comments. I'd really like to know. Because this is insane. And I was wondering if they use like anesthetic. But he did confirm it? I'm not sure.
This armor combined almost biologically with an already massive physique makes the Space Marine an almost unstoppable fighting force. And hell, if the armor doesn't protect them enough,
the Adeptus
they can always
Mechanicus.
become a walking coffin like the dreadnoughts of the chapters are. What truly adds to it all, however, is the sheer difference in some of them. While a Space Marine in its own right is an indoctrinated freight train on legs, how they act can be quite different from chapter to chapter. The gene seed of a Primarch is not just helping them become big and strong, but allows them to gain certain traits from their forefathers. Everything from how they think to even slightly adjusting their physical appearance once it's been implanted, the gene seed can be the personality of an entire Space Marine. Take the Salamanders, for example. Salamanders have a predisposition to fire as a whole, and tend to be extremely large due to the size of their Primarch, Vulcan, and his enormous stature. Where someone like Sanguinius, Primarch of the Blood Angels, share more vampiric features and more angel-like qualities. A gene seed is not just aspects of the Primarchs, but they are also flaws too. Magnus the Red and his Thousand Sons underwent something known as the Flesh Change, a horrifying mutation that, while it made them strong psychers, would affect their bodies so terribly that they would mutate away from humanity. Where other factions have inspiration for their culture from our real world, like the feudal Japanese of the Eldar or Egyptian style the Necrons, each Space Marine chapter themselves carry an inspiration. The White Scars are motorcycle riding Mongolian fighters. The Space Wolves are Norse Vikings. The Dark Angels are Knights of the Round Table, and so on. This moves into their fighting style, and truthfully, there is no end to the characters and options when it comes to the Space Marines. Space Marines are the main symbol you see, and while many of them can be simply indoctrinated warriors who only care about conflict and can be quite boring, then you meet Dante. or Bjorn, or Argel Tal, or Karn, or Lucius,
Dante.
or Erebus. And then you discover the wealth of these characters and tools of war you can have. For 1100 years, I have fought and I have seen the dark.
I'm curious, in this verse, do they have like war crimes, like weapons you're not allowed to use? Are there like, I don't know, rules of engagement, or is just all out? You do what you can to win, and you do what I'm willing to guess there are no rules of engagement, all that when it comes to the war. It's just chaos. But do confirm that for me.
Darkness in our galaxy. I have seen the vileness of the alien and the heresy of the mutant. I have witnessed the sin of possession, and I have seen all the evil that the galaxy harbors, and I have slain all whose presence defiles the Emperor. I have seen what you will see. I have fought what you must fight, and I have slain what you must slay. So fear not and be proud, for we are the sons of Sanguinius, the protectors of mankind. We are indeed the angels of death. Despite being the poster children for Warhammer 40k as a whole, the presence of a Space Marine is a rare sight for the countless trillions of humans across the galaxy. Seeing one of these monstrosities is like seeing something akin to an angel sent by the Emperor himself. These angels of death are the essential fighting force to bring humanity back under the unified banner of the Imperium. Yet ultimately, the Space Marines are individuals torn from their families and conscripted to genetic modification and lifelong service for the dying Imperium. And though they are held in an almost holy light, most believe they are above and beyond the people they are designed to serve. Once designed as the protect.
Bro, but I'd imagine being in a spot where like we're getting overtaken and these guys get caught and I see them far off in the distance. I just know, man, I'm saved, bro. I'm saved. Because look at them, bro. These absolute chads, man. I just know my day is about to get better.
Of humanity, they seldom view humanity as something worth saving. To the extent that it is a tiny, minute rarity, though not unheard of, for a Space Marine to put a normal citizen above them in any way. For most Space Marines and even their Primarchs, they are only here to do a job. They are there to kill the enemies of humanity, and I would be remiss if I didn't add at least one more of my favorite quotes to the tail end of this section. "The time for speeches is done," said Rogel Dorn. "The first great test is here. My order to you all is simple, yet heed it well, and exert yourselves to see it done. They are coming. Kill them all."
Damn.
While the Space Marines are the spearhead of the Imperium's Great Crusade and also a major player in its warfare, there is a significant amount of importance that must be taken on their transport. What sci-fi universe would be complete without its navy? When you think of the navy or ships on the
I
open
didn't
sea,
think
you
about
of
that.
something that is sleek, something mobile, and something pretty big. For perspective, the longest self-propelled ship in history was the TTCY's Giant, an oil tanker that was about 458 meters long or over about 1,500 feet. This right here is child's play in the world of 40k ships. A ship that is considered to be an escort vessel in the Imperium is about 3 times the size of a CY's Giant, and the size of the ships only go up from there. Your most common ships are the cruisers. The light cruiser tends to average at about 2 kilometers long, or just over a mile in length.
2 kilometers.
The Dictator class cruisers can be over 3 kilometers or 2 miles.
Bro.
The largest ships are your battleships, and they are tremendous. We're talking 5-mile long, half a mile high monstrosities that look like gigantic Gothic cathedrals and filled to the brim.
Brother, what?
And not only are they filled with weapons, but they are also jam-packed with crewmen. Battleships tend to, on average, carry a crew between several thousand to several million. And they need every single one of those members because we don't have advanced technology.
I'm willing to guess like these warships are the ones that they use for like when they issue or when they give the command for exterminatus. I think that's what he called it. Or is it exterminatus? I don't know how to say it, but you know what I mean. Are these the ships that they use? Or there's another device or weapon that they use? Exterminatus.
For other things to pilot themselves or control themselves in a meaningful way, because there's no AI. A lot of this stuff has to be done manually. Even the reloading of those giant batteries is a form of manual labor. And, of course, generally speaking, gliding through the stars is a very slow way to do things. And let's be honest, there can't be a science fiction setting without some form of hyperspace travel. This form of travel in 40k is less like going to Plaid in Spaceballs and more like going into Davy Jones' zipper dimension in SpongeBob.
Oh, now what? I suppose you're gonna show me. Oh, gee, that's very nice. Oh, what is this? Some kind of magic act?
What the hell? Where did he throw Squidward?
Warp to do so. Warp travel is handled by a navigator, which is an abhuman. It's a mutated human, don't worry about it. And they have a gene that gives them a third eye and the ability to help steer the ship through the warp, which, as we know, is hell itself and unreality. Now, this might sound exceptionally dangerous, and that's because it is. Now, the ship does have protection in the form of a Geller field, though. Originally, I assumed the Geller field is what you think it is, a large force field stopping all manner of horrible things, like demons.
Has there been a time when the Imperium of Men, or just the Space Marines, have worked with the Eldar? I want to know, because I think that would be cool. Or are they enemies? Do they even know of each other? Do they even exist at the same time?
From the warp tearing apart your ship. How wrong I was, though. So space travel through the warp basically involves riding on the Sea of Souls. Hell is real and you can surf on it. So you allow the current to carry you and the navigator to direct. But how can a current of souls and unreality carry you when it doesn't obey the laws of physics, time, or, again, reality? What a Geller field is not a force field, but a comatose imperial psyker dreaming of reality. It is not a bubble. It is a force
of
reality being projected by mutant sleeping beauty to counteract the unreality of the warp that you can then surf on. This, of course, is not a foolproof method of travel, and Geller fields can and do collapse fairly regularly. Being subjected to the warp itself without this Geller field is a terrifying prospect. In the best case scenario, your ship will be torn to shreds. But there are countless instances of ships being thrown out of the warp randomly throughout time itself. You leave for a 2-day mission and you come back 90 years in the past. Maybe you feel like you're lost in the warp for a century and it's only been 45 minutes. And that is only if the waves of souls don't rip you.
Bro, you can go in there and then come out in the past? Is that what he's saying? That's insane. I don't know what's happening now, but it's kind of tripping. Hopefully it doesn't do that again.
Or again, reality. What a Geller field is not a force field, but a comatose imperial psyker dreaming of reality. It is not a bubble. It is a force of reality being projected by mutant sleeping beauty to counteract the unreality of the warp that you can then surf.
So bro has to be locked in.
Not a foolproof method of travel
for this to work.
Can and do collapse fairly regularly. Being subjected to the warp itself without this Geller field is a terrifying prospect. In the best case scenario, your ship will be torn to shreds. But there are countless instances of ships being thrown out of the warp randomly randomly throughout time itself. You leave for a 2-day mission and you come back 90 years in the past.
Insane.
Maybe you feel like you're lost in the warp for a century and it's only been 45 minutes. And that is only if the waves of souls don't rip your ship apart or have demons arrive on it to do unspeakable things to the crew. The Imperial Navy is an astronomically powerful force for the Imperium because the sheer volume of ships and guns on those ships create firepower that can sunder planets. This is all juxtaposed with the sheer backwater nature of these ships. While they are manned by crews of zealots, they are also operated with such a backwater tech, it completely confuses the
which
reader.
is so
You see the
insane
long
to me.
batteries of portside cannons that the ship has, and remember that AI is heresy in this world, and that all the mechanics are utilized by lobotomized slaves. So how do they load these? Well, they have gun gangs, massive gangs of hundreds of people manually loading these cannons. These are genuine gun loader gangs that get into gang wars and squabbles. On the ship's bridge, you may find the captain himself hardwired directly into the ship's chair permanently to control it the best they can. Giant screens of hololith data fill the room, and sensors across the ship are just as likely to
I guess that's not insane. If the Emperor is on that chair permanently, then that's the least you could do, bro. Sit on that chair and steer that ship. It's an easy job compared to everyone, actually.
tell you information as a serf running up to you with a scroll of parchment is. You reach to a microphone to shout orders down a hallway as paper readouts tell you information of the enemy, and holy sigils and candlelit incense burners gleam your next move. While the
Damn. I think I'm stopping there. Yeah, I'm stopping there, but please don't forget to give a response to how the mic sounds, because I really want to know if I should continue using it. But that's crazy that these guys have ships that literally fly in space, but they're still using people to load up the guns, to do all types of things, just because AI is heresy. Just make up your mind, bro. It's like they are so advanced, but at the same time, they refuse to advance beyond what they have schematics for, because it's heresy. That's so crazy to me. But I really did enjoy this. This is more in depth than the first video I watched. I watched the first video where he talked about the Adeptus Mechanicus. It wasn't really in depth like this. I learned a lot of new things in this. I know that the Adeptus Mechanicus now have a Holy Trinity. I didn't know that before, so that's cool. But anyway, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and on that note, thank you for watching, and I'll catch you on the next one.